We're going to go ahead and actually focus on Facebook today, Meta in general, if you will. Okay. I have three videos that I want to talk about. So the first one just going to be what Mark Zuckerberg said, like, oh, the government, the politics, they told me to censor people. I'm all for free speech and all that kind of stuff. And then two of how free speech is not being exercised. So let's get into it.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political. But there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower-severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
Essentially, we're going to not have as much censorship, is what he said, right?
Says a technical problem is to blame for search results being hidden for certain words yesterday. Last night, I searched the word Republican and related content appeared as you'd expect it would. But when I typed in the word Democrat, a message appeared telling me Instagram had hidden these results. The same happened for democracy, Kamala Harris, Obama. Even content for abortion and reproductive rights was hidden. The hidden content issue has since been fixed on Instagram, but questions are now being raised about the power of platforms to control what we see. For more, I'm joined by Josh Taylor, tech reporter for The Guardian. Josh, what do you make of Meta's explanation for this?
I could count more than on the fingers on my hands the amount of times where Meta has been found to be censoring something that it shouldn't be, and then they'll come back and say, "Oh, it was a technical error and we've restored it." But this is just sort of the latest in a long line of censorship from the platform. It's surprising that it's happening at the time it was. That is the inauguration of Donald Trump again, and also just a week after, or a couple of weeks after, Meta announced that they were changing their policies and trying to encourage more conversation on their platform. So it was quite surprising that this was happening.
For it to happen on Inauguration Day, is it more than a coincidence?
The timing is interesting because we know that Mark Zuckerberg was at the inauguration and Meta had donated a vast sum of money to the Trump Inauguration Committee.
Meta is in hot water after hiding search results for the word Democrats on Instagram. The company says it's working on fixing the issue, calling it a technical problem. Social media users were quick to accuse Meta of political bias after owner Mark Zuckerberg was at Donald Trump's inauguration. Meta is denying those claims. Some Facebook and Instagram users were also surprised to find themselves automatically following the accounts of Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. A Meta spokesperson says the accounts are managed by the White House and, quote, change when the occupant of the White House changes.
So with all that being said, you go and say that essentially we're not going to have censorship, not like that. Of course, for crazy stuff, like illegal stuff, yes. But everything else, well, hey, because we have the strongest protection for freedom of speech, we'll let y'all say whatever y'all want to say. As long as it's in reason and y'all not doing any of that legal stuff, if you know what I mean. But then, not too long later, you then do this. Like, what was it, 2 weeks later? Then now you have this kind of censorship going on. So I find that to be quite interesting that is what is being said. And yes, we all know that they're all in cahoots. Okay, let's keep it real. And this is also another thing before I even get into that. But who's to say that when you say, okay, well, it was just a technical error, we don't know, it just happened. Who's to say that in another week or maybe a month, they start scaling back even more? So where you were able to see 100% of the posts of whatever you could see on the thing, we're going to start filtering if it's too harsh, if it's too true. We'll start censoring other people's videos. And that may affect their monetization. I think he didn't think, or other people didn't think, that people were actually going to say anything about it. But of course they did. But we all know that they're all in cahoots with everyone. That's the name of the game. That's what's going on. They're all in cahoots. They're all friends and all that kind of stuff. This, at the end of the day, is a class issue. It's not white versus black versus Asian. You can have your differences. Cool, whatever. But the main issue is a class issue. And that's just what it shows. Okay. And people need to unite on that. But it just seems like it will probably never happen here.